Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Conference on Friendship, Human Solidarity, Diversity, Trafficking, Exploitation, Slavery, Awareness, Education, Employment, Environment, Health, Well-being, and Sustainable Development 2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, India's G20 presidency, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and also World Health Organization's anniversary year, 75th anniversary year of birthday, and also commemorating International Tiger Day with the theme India launches Project Tiger to revive the tiger population, and also commemorating International Day of Friendship, sharing with the theme Sharing the Human Spirit Through Friendship, and also World Day Against Trafficking in Persons with the theme Reach Every Victim of Trafficking, Leaving No One Behind, and other commemorations. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Initially, we will look at World Tiger Day. And it is also commemorated as International Tiger Day today on July 29, 2023. Tigers are a symbol of sustainable development because they protect forests, and we know how forests are very crucial for the sustainable development, not only for sustainable development, but also conservation of our nature, environment, and planet, and also ecosystems and biodiversity, as forests are rich sources of biodiversity. So International Tiger Day is celebrated annually on July 29th, as the tiger enjoys the reputation being the largest of the world's big cats. And it is also being a national animal for our nation. A tiger can be easily identified with its distinctive orange and black stripes on its face and body. So International Tiger Day is celebrated across the globe so that all of us can raise awareness for tiger conservation. The day aims to build a worldwide system that will be dedicated to protecting tigers and their natural habitats. A safe and thriving habitat for tigers means that we conserve other species and our forests too. So through International Tiger Day, we can work for a future where humans and tigers can cohabit peacefully as we were doing since thousands and hundreds of years. So International Tiger Day was first celebrated in 2010 after it was found that 97% of all wild tigers have disappeared in the last century, with about only 3,000 of them remaining. It's not news that tigers are on the brink of extinction, and the International World Tiger Day aims to halt the numbers from worsening. Habitat loss, climate change, hunting, and poaching are only some of the factors that are responsible for the decline in the tiger population. Along with the preservation of these species, that day also aims to protect and expand their habitats. Many international organizations, such as World Wildlife Fund, IFAW, and Smithsonian Institute also observe this International Tiger Day. Thus, tigers play a crucial role not only for conservation of tigers, but also the entire planet indirectly. So with the loss of habitats and climate change, tigers are increasingly coming into conflict with the humans. Not just tigers, but various animals, because we are also encroaching into their habitats. Poaching and the illegal trade industry is also a very serious threat that wild tigers face. Demand for tiger bone, skin, and other parts is leading to the increased cases of poaching and trafficking. This is resulting in localized extinctions, which has made revival of the tiger population next to impossible. Another threat that has negatively impacted the tiger population is the loss of habitat. All across the world, we are witnessing a loss of tiger habitats due to access routes, human settlements, timber logging, plantations, and agriculture. In fact, only about 7% of the original tiger habitats are still intact today. Experts also worry that the lack of genetic diversity among the tigers can lead to inbreeding in small populations. The ever-increasing habitat loss means that the conflicts between the tigers and humans are on the rise. Tigers may wander into the human population, which is worrying for the people as well as these majestic cats. So India launches Project Tiger to revive the tiger population in 1973, and 13 tiger range countries summit to TX2 to double wild tiger numbers by 2022 in 2010. IUCN recognizes the continental tiger and the Sunda Island tiger as tigers subspecies. 2 tiger subspecies are listed in 2017. And the World Wildlife Fund aims to double the number of wild tigers in 2022 and declares 2022 as the year of tiger. So this day, International Tiger Day or World Tiger Day, both is celebrated on July 29th every year to raise awareness and support for the tiger conservation issues. And India currently hosts the largest tiger population across the world. The longest tiger reserve is the Nagarjuna Sagar, and Sri Salem Tiger Reserve is the largest in India with an area of 3,728 square kilometers, which is the largest tiger reserve in India. So not everyone is aware of the threats that wild tigers face. So this is an opportunity to raise awareness by sharing information, similar videos or infographics, and also to suitable content to get more people involved in the cause. And adopting a tiger can be a huge boost to the World Wildlife Fund and the work that is doing. So they can help fund projects that work with local communities, working to save tigers, and also take strict actions against poaching and unlawful trading. You can also adopt tigers in your nearest zoos, in your city or district, wherever they are. And also national tiger reserves have certain schemes where you can adopt a tiger, which you can help a species, preventing them going extinct. So you can also donate to charities, NGOs that work for the well-being of tigers and which are taking care of the tigers. Carry your good work forward by using your online media presence, including social media, to urge your friends, colleagues to contribute or donate in cash or kind to similar charities as well. And you can also join with the various forest departments and state and central government in the efforts of conservation, in creating awareness, education, and promoting the cause at various levels. There are some interesting facts about tigers that will be really astonishing. A tiger's roar is impressively loud, which can be heard from 2 miles away. And tigers can move at a speed of 40 miles per hour. They are quite fast too. The average tiger weighs around 800 pounds. And these are the world's largest cats. A cub can only hunt on its way after turning 2 or 3. So hunting takes a while to learn for the tiger cubs. India has the largest tiger population. Up to 70% of the world's tiger population is in India. So that's why India has a greater role to conserve the tigers and their habitats. International Tiger Day aims to strike a delicate balance between humans and tigers, since we are all dependent on each other in more ways than one. The day makes us realize that a healthy tiger population also means a well-balanced ecosystem. Tigers are now an endangered species, and we must all do our bit to protect these magnificent beasts. While conservation efforts are carried out all year long, this day, International Tiger Day, reminds us to get involved in the cause, and it protects an endangered animal. Despite the fact that humans are largely responsible for the dwindling tiger population, it is also true that there are a bunch of passionate wildlife enthusiasts who are trying their best to make the planet more habitable for tigers. So International Tiger Day also celebrates this unique bond among the wildlife enthusiasts and the cause. In an astounding achievement, Bhutan tiger numbers grow by 27%. As a result of long-standing and steadfast commitment to conservation, Bhutan has increased the number of tigers within its boundaries and borders by 27% since 2015, an astounding achievement. There are now an estimated of 131 tigers in the eastern Himalayan country, according to the most recent survey conducted in 2021 and 2022. A collective effort among the royal government of Bhutan, local partners, and non-governmental organizations such as World Wildlife Fund, Bhutan serve as a foundation for this success. The Bhutan Tiger Center led efforts to monitor and research the country's tiger population and work with local communities to radio collar tigers to study their movements and conduct surveys. Bhutan's conservation efforts continue to inspire hope for the recovery of many threatened species. The recent news of increasing tiger numbers in Bhutan serves as a clear testament to what can be achieved when nations and their people demonstrate selfless dedication to conservation of the good of humanity and the planet. Bhutan's journey to achieving the tiger numbers we see today began more than a decade ago, when the country joined a global effort to double the number of tigers in the wild by 2022. This effort went hand in hand with Bhutan's promise to preserve over half of its land under forest cover, a decision that ties cultural connection with the nature. In the years since, Bhutan has implemented a suite of strategies to increase wild tiger population, from adopting a global conservation tool that sets best practices and standards to manage wild tiger sites to equipping rangers with improved monitoring and reporting technology to make them more effective in stopping wildlife crime, and a cross-border tiger conservation program with India in the transboundary Manas Conservation Area, in short known as TRAMCA, provided so successful that the data from the most recent survey conducted in 2018 estimates that these big cats doubled in number on both sides of the political border since 2010. The 2021-22 National Tiger Survey also unlocked new insights into the growing population of tigers in the country. Regions not previously known to have tigers reported sightings, and breeding tigers were recorded at high elevations, supporting the popular theory that Bhutan is a source site for tigers in the region. Tiger conservation starts with community partnerships, as local communities are essential to protecting wild tigers. Like in many places, when populations and demand for space grow, people and wildlife are increasingly interacting and competing for resources, which can lead to increased human-wildlife conflict. But despite tiger killings, a high number of livestock in Bhutan, retaliatory killings of these big cats have been very low. This tolerance is derived in part from the value and compassion Buddhism encourages towards nature. Still, the situation is complex, and the World Wildlife Bhutan has been working with communities in the Tromsø district, an area of northeastern Bhutan that lies within Jigme Singhi Wanchuk National Park, to address the damage human-tiger conflict has on livelihoods. A recent survey of 610 households in the region showed that most of the community's livelihoods depend on the livestock, and many people felt concerned about an increase in tigers in the area because of the socio-economic impact. Sharing space with big cats can also took a psychological toll. According to the survey, and through WWF Bhutan has yet to conduct similar research across the country. It is likely that other communities facing increased human-tiger conflict feel the same. WWF Bhutan have been a long-time supporter of work in the Trongsa district, focusing on how better protected area management can improve livelihoods and safeguard both people and tigers. In 2022, Bhutan's government worked with local communities in Trongsa to establish a 6 Gyong sub-district tiger conservation Shongpa committees, community-led tiger conservation groups that encourage stewardship of tigers, manage human-tiger conflict, and provide livestock insurance. They are located in the human-tiger conflict hotspots and include 4 communities in Trongsa. World Wildlife Fund Bhutan is helping create an additional conservation group in Trongsa and will provide financial support to its members and help build capacity to sustain and succeed. In addition, they will be working with local communities in Trongsa to better understand their tolerance for living alongside tigers and implement a holistic conflict management system that work towards human-tiger coexistence. So a bright future for people and tigers, as Bhutan has shown that with government support, the right conservation interventions, a robust ranger workforce, and community partnerships, tiger populations can recover and even flourish. While the National Tiger Survey tallied many big cats, it also took a snapshot of the abundance of wildlife that the lives alongside the iconic big cat, proving them that we can protect tigers, we can protect so much more. So World Wildlife Fund congratulates Bhutan on its success in increasing the country's tiger population while recognizing that even in the diverse and vast forests of this amazing country, tiger conservation progress is fragile. Bhutan is evidence of why we need robust and measurable goals, focusing on living with the tigers to ensure a promising future for these iconic big cats and the people alike. After a century of decline, overall wild tiger numbers are starting to tick upward. Based on the best available information, tiger populations are stable or increasing in India, Nepal, Bhutan, Russia, and China. About 4,500 tigers remain in the wild, but much more work is needed to protect the species if we are to secure its future in the wild in some areas, including much of the Southeast Asia. Tigers are still in crisis and declining in number. There are 2 recognized subspecies of tiger, the continental Panthera tigris and the Sanja Panthera tigris sandaica. So the largest of the Asian big cats, tigers rely primarily on sight and sound rather than smell for hunting. They typically hunt alone and stalk prey. A tiger can consume more than 80 pounds of meat at one time. On average, tigers give birth to 2 or 4 cubs every 2 years. If all the cubs in one litter die, a second litter may be produced within 5 months. Tigers generally gain independence at around 2 years of age and attain sexual maturity at age 3 or 4 for females and 4 or 5 years for males. Juvenile mortality is high. However, about half of the cubs do not survive more than 2 years. Tigers have been known to reach up to 20 years of age in the wild. Males of the larger subspecies, the continental tiger, may weigh up to 660 pounds. For males of similar subspecies, the Sunda tiger, the upper range is around 310 pounds. Within both species, males are heavier than females. Tigers are mostly solitary. Apart from associations between mother and offspring, individual tigers have a large territory and the size is determined mostly by the availability of prey. Individuals mark their domain with urine, faces, breaks, scrapes, and vocalizing. Across their range, tigers face unrelenting pressures from poaching, retaliatory killings, and habit loss. They are forced to compete for space with dense and often growing human populations. Since 2017, the IUCN has recognized two tiger subspecies commonly referred to as continental tiger and the Sunda island tiger. All remaining island tigers are found only in Sumatra, with tigers in Java and Bali now extinct. There are popularly known as Sumatran tigers. The continental tigers currently include the Bengal, Malayan, Indo-Chinese, and Amur Siberian tiger populations, while the Caspian tiger is extinct in the wild. The South China tiger is believed to be functionally extinct. So the big cats or the tigers is a critical part of the ecosystem and culture. If the forests are emptied of every last tiger, all that remain are distant legends and zoo sightings. Tigers have lost an estimated 95% of their historical range. Their habitat has been destroyed, degraded, and fragmented by human activities. The clearing of forests for agriculture and timber, as well as the building of the road networks and other development activities, pose serious threats. To the tiger habitats. Tigers need wide swaths of habitat for their survival since they have large home ranges and are very territorial. Fewer tigers can survive in small scattered islands of habitat, which leads to a higher risk of inbreeding and makes tigers more vulnerable to poaching. As they venture beyond protected areas to establish their territories, there underscores the need to ensure habitat connectivity between the protected areas where tigers live. People and tigers increasingly compete for space. As forests shrink and prey becomes scarce, tigers are also forced to leave their protected areas in search of food and water to establish territories. This takes them into human-dominated areas that lie between habitat fragments where they can get hurt or they can hunt domestic livestock that many local communities depend on for their livelihood. In retaliation, tigers are sometimes killed or captured. Conflict tigers can end up for a sale in black markets. Local community dependence on forests for fuel, wood, food, and timber heightens the risk of tiger attacks on people. One of the world's largest and most uniquely adapted tiger populations are found in the Sundarbans, a large mangrove forest area shared by the India and Bangladesh on the coast of the Indian Ocean. It is also the only coastal mangrove tiger habitat in the world. These mangrove forests harbor a variety of species, including tigers, and protect coastal regions from storm surges and wind damage. However, Rising sea levels caused by the climate change threaten to wipe out these forests and in the last remaining habitat of this tiger population. According to the World Wildlife Fund study, without mitigation efforts, projected sea level rise about a foot by 2070 could destroy nearly the entire Sundarbans tiger habitat. Current estimates indicate that there are more than 8,000 tigers being held in more than 200 centers in East and Southeast Asia, with roughly 3/4 of these tigers located in China. The current scale of commercial captive breeding efforts within these farms is a significant obstacle to the recovery and protection of wild tiger population because they perpetuate the demand for tiger products, serve as a cover for illegal trade, and undermine enforcement efforts. WWF is engaging with government in the countries with active tiger farms and captive tigers and advocates ending breeding and phasing out the farms. WWF also advocates for the improved regulation of the captive tiger population in the US. It is estimated that an approximately 5,000 tigers reside in US, and we must ensure that these animals are not exploited or contributing to the illegal trade in tigers and their parts. Poaching and illegal wildlife trade is also one of the major concerns and factor in decline of tiger population. Poaching is the most immediate threat to wild tigers. Every part of the tiger, from whisker to tail, has been found in illegal wildlife markets. A result of persistent demand, their bones and other body parts are used for modern health tonics and folk remedies, and their skin are sought after status symbols among some Asian cultures. There are often limited resources for guarding protected areas in the countries where tigers live. Even countries with strong enforcement of tiger protection laws continue to fight a never-ending battle against poaching, which is now often orchestrated by transnational crime syndicates that rake in significant profits from wildlife crime and undermine the security of local communities. The impact of the death of a single tiger at the hands of a poachers reaches beyond one single loss. If a female tiger with cubs is killed, her cubs will most likely die without their mother, and the female's potential for future breeding is lost. If a male is killed, his death can result in intense competition for his territory among surviving males in the population, leading to potential injury and death. As demonstrated in the number of areas, wild tigers can recover. In 2010, the 13 tiger range countries committed to TX2 doubling wild tiger numbers by 2022. The next year of the tiger in pursuing TX2, WWF and its partners have a comprehensive approach to tiger conservation. So World Wildlife Fund works to enforce zero tolerance for tiger poaching across Asia. They help in building the capacity of government enforcement units in each landscape and install the best new technologies to assist local agencies by achieving conservation results. They also help the effectiveness of wildlife ranges by training personnel from enforcement agencies on tools such as smart spatial monitoring and reporting tool. And they also work to ensure communities have a stake in conservation, as they are typically the best stewards and managers of their own natural resources. Tigers need secure areas to thrive, and our work to protect and connect their fragile habitat is based on rigorous scientific analysis. WWF has chosen places to focus its resources based on the best available science and where tigers can have the best chance of recovery and the long-term persistence. The locations encompass tiger corridors and the linked tiger sites within landscapes. Our work includes building local capacity to manage protected areas, coordinating with partners to manage core tiger areas and corridors, and addressing human-wildlife conflict and the impacts of infrastructural development in tiger landscapes. To ensure effective conservation management of tiger sites, the Conservation Assured Tiger Standards, CATS, provide a minimum set of standards to encourage the long-term success of tiger conservation and the best practices in these areas. 9 of the 13 tiger range countries, are currently implementing CATS or in discussions on registry, and 2 sites have achieved CATS approval by meeting all the required standards. Monitoring tigers and their prey is essential to achieving our goal of doubling wild tiger populations. By employing camera, traps tracking technologies, and a DNA collected from scat droppings, we analyze the progress of tiger populations in order to adapt our strategies and make conservation and decisions based on a strong science and field experience. And World Wildlife Fund works with governments across 13 tiger range countries and wild tiger populations to build and maintain momentum around the conservation of tigers, which is an asset that can enhance their development agendas by linking tiger conservation with forest preservation and carbon sequestration efforts. Tiger range nations and their partners can demonstrate their commitment to promoting a healthy environmental and economic future. Trade in tiger parts and products is a major threat to wildlife tiger survival. Together with Trafficking, the Global Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network, we implement strategies to help governments stop wildlife criminal network, shut down black markets, and change consumer behavior. So we conduct investigations to document the tiger trade, catalyze action against it, and help train enforcement agencies. And we continue to build strategies to reduce demand for the tiger parts and products and shut down tiger farms. So there are various tiger projects taken across the world. We will look into one by one. Eliminating a threat that fuels the illegal wildlife trade and endangering wild tigers, a measure of shutting down tiger farms. Tiger camps are captive facilities that breed tigers to supply or directly engage in the commercial trade of tiger parts or products. Unfortunately, the number of these farms have increased over the years, with more tigers living in captivity than in the wild. Since 1990s, some people, including those with business investments in Asia tiger farms, have suggested that supplying bone and other products from farm tigers would elevate the demand for wild tiger parts and products for various uses, including traditional medicines, and thereby contribute to wild tiger conservation. On the contrary, these farms perpetuate and the demand for tiger products and provide cover for the illegal trade of wild tigers and their parts. The movement of tiger parts from these captive facilities, both legally and illegally, makes it difficult for law enforcement to distinguish between parts that have come from the poached wild tigers or captive bred tigers. These farms also contribute to the confusion among consumers and legitimize the use and purchase of such items, meaning wild tigers could face increasing poaching pressures from the growing demand for these tiger products. Traffic's 2016 report, Reduced to Skin and Bones Re-examined, demonstrate the severity of the threat that poaching and illegal trade still poses. The seizures of parts and products indicating an average of 110 tigers killed and traded each year since 2000. The true number is surely higher, as these figures reflect reported seizures, while much of the trade gets and goes undetected. The report also found that an estimated 30% of the live tigers seized between 2012 and 2015 came from the captive sources, including farms, zoos, and tourist attractions, highlighting the growing role of these facilities in the illegal trade. International talks focused on the trade endangered species in 2007. WWF helped lead the push for the adoption of a regulation that says tigers should not be bred for trade in their parts and anything made from those parts, and removes the main economic incentive for captive breeding in recent years. World Wildlife Fund has sought to raise the issue of tiger farms via direct engagement with government figures in those countries which allow such farms to operate. For the first time since 2017, there is a significant movement towards ending this threat once and for all. In October 2016, Laos announced that it would close its tiger farms. Thailand has initiated investigations into all of its captive breeding facilities after shocking discoveries at the Tiger Temple in 2016 that included 40 tiger cub corpses preserved in jars. The political landscape in China has also changed significantly, as evidenced by China's closure of its domestic ivory market in 2018. With the number of tigers in farms increasing rapidly in recent years, particularly in China, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam, World Wildlife Fund is calling on these governments to phase out their country's tiger farms and end the trade in tiger parts from any source. Captive tigers in the United States, while the US doesn't have tiger farms, there are an estimated 5,000 captive tigers in America. More than all wild tigers across Asia, a vast majority of these captive tigers are privately owned, often by people not trained to care for animals in general, let alone tigers. Often, public contact with these tigers, specifically with young cubs for tiger encounters or photo opportunities, means that the private owners have a financial incentive to breed a constant stream of tiger cubs to supply their operations. However, once these tigers reach a certain size and age, they can no longer be used for public contact and thus are less profitable, while at the same time becoming vastly more expensive to feed and house, because there is still little federal regulation requiring the tracking of captive tigers in the US. These animals can be easily exploited by wildlife criminals, pushing tigers and tiger parts into the illegal wildlife trade. If that happens, their availability would help sustain market that also drives the poaching of the tigers in the wild. So we need a comprehensive legislation. In April 2016, the US government tightened regulations around captive tigers and made it more difficult for these animals to filter into bolster the illegal wildlife trade. More than 450,000 World Wildlife Fund supporters called on the US government to help make these new federal rules happen. Although this was a significant win for tigers, the new rules protected some tigers and not others, and remaining legal loopholes left captive tigers vulnerable to the wildlife traffickers and the intentional trade in tiger parts, the same trade that is primary threat to world tigers. In February 2019, the bipartisan Big Tag Public Society Act HR 1380 was introduced to Congress, which would prohibit the ownership of dangerous big cats and public contract with cubs. The bill would reduce the risk of tiger parts from the US entering the illegal wildlife trade, while also improving public safety and tiger welfare. Nearly 690,000 WWF US activists sent messages to the Congress campaigning tiger regulations and stronger protection for captive tigers. And on December 21st, 2022, President Biden signed the Big Cat Public Safety Act into law. Unfortunately, captive tigers in the US provide very little long-term conservation value, save the very few that are part of the conservation breeding program. WWF prioritized the conservation of tigers already in the wild, and where reintroduction of tigers may be warranted on sourcing tigers from viable wild populations. So, in short, unfortunately, captive tigers can be rescued, but cannot be released in the wild. But they can be conserved in a captive habitats like national parks or a similar kind of thing where, they can be conserved. And there is no ban on private ownership of the tigers at the federal level in the US. However, it is banned in a number of states. WWF has been working for over a decade to secure federal laws and regulations to provide stricter oversight to the captive tigers that do exist in the US. So Big Cat Public Safety Act, which would require federal permits for all big cats and ban public contract with these species, thereby removing the incentive for breeding, a constant supply of the cubs used in photo and petting opportunities at many of the commercial big cat facilities. So with this, we might have now what is the best way to help captive tigers? Now, WWF is continuing advocacy around improving laws and regulations that provide federal oversight of tigers in the US, like Big Cat Public Safety Act, that would appreciate support. It is important that we know where tigers are and who owns them, and when they are sold and traded, what happens to their valuable parts when they die. This will help stop their illegal trade, but will also help ensure public safety as well as the adherence to the welfare standards. The US is a bit unique given the large number of tigers in the captivity. We have within our boundaries around 5,000, and that many of these are held in private hands. However, there are even more tigers in the farms in Asia, estimated that at more than 8,000 tigers. So WWF is working on to phase out these farms and to ensure that all trades in tigers, their parts and products from any source is banned. Maybe while listening to this session, you might be wondering, we have mentioned that there are less tigers in the wild. But don't get confused by these tigers, 5,000 tigers in US, which are captive tigers, not wildlife, wild tigers. And they are not counted in this conservation efforts, which are in wild. We are talking about the tigers, which are in wild. So counting this 5,000 and 8,000, we have more than 13,000 tigers in captivity and captive farms under captive breeding. So as part of the World Wildlife initiatives across the globe, people rely on the harvest, collection, trade, and consumption of wildlife, wild animals and plants. Managing the resources, trade, and consumption to sustainable level is a highly complex and often emotive issue. And decisions that shape whether trade is sustainable, legal, fair, and transparent needs to be based on the sound science, as do actions to remedy challenges or negative elements, including restricting trade for species that are imperiled through overexploitation or trafficking, determining the ability of wildlife populations to sustain harvest, and how the rate of trade and consumption affects that, and whether the trade meets regulatory or sustainable requirements, needs data, analysis, and recommendations for action. So that's how this Traffic, which is an organization that was established in 1976 by WWF and IUCN as a wildlife trade monitoring network to undertake data collection, analysis, and provision of recommendations to inform decision-making on wildlife trade. For over 40 years, Traffic performed that function as a leader in wildlife trade research as a joint program of WWF and IUCN. Traffic became an independent nonprofit organization in 2017 with WWF and IUCN sitting on its board of directors, along as a provider of objective and reliable information. Its expert staff implement innovative projects to create new tools to deliver the mission of protecting nature and supporting sustainable development by resolving wildlife trade challenges. And the illegal trade in wildlife and wildlife products such as elephant ivory, rhino horn, pangolin scales, shark fins, marine turtle shell, and rosewood is causing unprecedented declines in many species populations, along with the discussed tiger populations, with associated adverse effects on their ecosystems. Increasingly, the illegal wildlife trade is being dominated by organized criminal networks that are making enormous profits, often without a fear of detection or penalty. So Traffic specializes in providing information, analytics on illegal trade networks and supply chains, targeting the kingpins, illegal markets, and new trends in the trafficking. Traffic works to support longer regulations and law enforcement efforts that are based on research and development of new tools and resources. The delivery of the latest trend analysis, analyzes capacity building resources and applied technologies, helps generate new opportunities for their effective government responses to predict, detect, and deter wildlife trafficking. and also the ability to correctly distinguish between ivories and as well as lookalikes made it from other natural and synthetic materials is critical to combat threats of illegal wildlife trade globally and to allow the trade in legal ivories. Though many countries banned the ivory products, trading as well as purchasing and usage, the traffic team in the US collaborates with the US Fish and Wildlife Service Forensic Laboratory, the site's secretariat, and the World WWF to update and expand the identification guide for ivory and ivory substitutes, the go-to resource for physical ivory identification. The guide is available in English, Chinese, French, and Spanish to assist the law enforcement officers, forensic scientists, online technology company, enforcement staff, and wildlife trade management authorities. The team is partnering with financial institutions and international providers of data, risk management, and financial sector capacity building, such as ACAMs, to provide critical linkages for law enforcement. The aim is to make more difficult for known wildlife traffickers to launder funds and receive financing through heightened risk information and alerts as a result of the information, tools, and resources provided by the partners working together with Traffic and WWF. So the recent pandemics, the current COVID-19 pandemic has revealed the fragile link between human health and wildlife exploitation. Most of the pandemics are due to consumption of these wild animals by the humans. And how this poorly regulated and illegal trade in wildlife can catalyze disease transmission and shatter global economies. Experts agree that there is an urgent need for monitoring systems for wildlife markets and supply chains to identify zoonotic diseases and risks and prevent a new pandemic. Traffic team in the US is developing and supporting a suite of initiatives and projects with partners globally on learning the COVID-19 to equip with the health and environment sector with the tools and systems to prevent viral spillover. Traffic and WWF are building a collaboration between academic and tech company partners to design a predictive modeling tool that identifies emerging trends in demand for and sales of species that are high risk of zoonotic transmission and identifies hotspots where they are being sold, both in physical and online markets. The machine learning big data system uses a combination of online search and social media data that overlays offers for sale as well as desire to purchasing high-risk species, which is combined with ground truth market research and other data sources. The Traffic Office in the US provides objective research and analysis of wildlife trade and policy to catalyze bipartisan action to tackle illegal and unsustainable wildlife trade and domestically and abroad. The team helps to leverage the rich expertise, resources, and influence available in the US for cohesive and impactful programs on wildlife trade. These include assisting the creation and application of projects such as USAID Wildlife TRAPS project and USAID Roots Partnership and USAID Wildlife Crime Tech Challenge. The Traffic Senior Director was a member of the Advisory Council of the US Federal Advisory Council to the Presidential Task Force on Wildlife Trafficking from 2013 to 2017, contributing to it. So the traffic team provides objective information to the WWF to influence legislation, regulations, and diplomatic efforts and armed at reducing illegal wildlife trade globally. For example, the Eliminate, Neutralize, and Disrupt, in short known as the End Wildlife Trafficking Act of 2016 and Wildlife Conservation and Anti-Trafficking Act of 2000 19. Provide critical evidence and testimony. Acknowledging the law enforcement alone cannot tackle the challenges of illegal wildlife trade. Traffic partners closely work with the Americas-based private sector across the global supply chains to transform business operations, shutting down loopholes that enable wildlife trafficking and support regulated, safe, and fair legal trade. So, USAID reducing opportunities for unlawful transport of endangered species, in short known as Roots Partnership, brings together the transport and logistics companies, government agencies, development groups, law enforcement, conservation organizations, and donors to disrupt wildlife trafficking by reducing the use of legal transportation, supply chains, and forms a key elements of the concerned international response to addressing wildlife poaching and associated criminal activities worldwide. In the America, Traffic facilitates outreach and engagement with the Roots partners and the US government agencies. Traffic leads efforts to implement Roots project elements in the Americas, including airports and transport company initiatives in target countries in Latin America and North America. The coalition to end wildlife trafficking online unites e-commerce, social media, and search companies to reduce illegal wildlife trade on web-based platforms. Launched in 2018 and jointly convened by WWF, Traffic, and IFAW, the coalition currently includes nearly 40 member companies. These members work together to harmonize, prohibit wildlife policies, train, and share best practices. The traffic team in Washington, D.C. coordinates the coalition globally to synergize efforts and standards of coalition and serves as a facilitators and experts for the companies. So there are various projects which are taken up. Coalition to end wildlife trafficking online. The world's most endangered species are under threat from an unsuspecting source, that is the internet. And other projects include the legacy of the USAID Roots Partnership for over 6 years, the USAID reducing opportunities for the unlawful transport of endangered species, Roots Partnership brought together government agencies, law enforcement, non-governmental organizations, and the transport sector companies to disrupt wildlife trafficking through the legal transportation supply chains in the aviation industry. So similarly, we have seen Nepal, Bhutan, and US, and we will look at the various efforts in Europe, how they are contributing to this illegal tiger trade for promotion as well as prevention. So as we have seen already, WWF considers the illegal trade of tigers to be the greatest immediate threat to the conservation and survival of the animal. With fewer than 4,000 tigers in the wild, demand for tigers and their parts is pushing these animals closer to extinction. While wildlife tigers are found in just 13 Asian countries, the illegal wildlife trade of parts and products from captive tigers comes from all corners of the world where these tigers are reared in captivity. So new findings show that weak legislation and regulations on captive tiger facilities across European Union and the United Kingdom are helping to fueling this illegal trade. Despite protection of tigers under the Convention on Illegal Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, in short known as CITES, CITES, and EU and UK continue to trade in live captive breed tigers and tiger products with countries where tiger farms are known to feed the illegal tiger trade, such as China, Thailand, and Vietnam. So there are a total of 111 direct exporters of tigers from the EU between 2013 and 2017, 103 of which were live tigers, and a total of 165 EU tiger re-exports, 84 of which were live tigers. The data is part of the new joint report by WWF and Traffic that investigates the domestic legislation, policies, and related enforcements regarding the keeping, breeding, and disposal of tigers and their parts of the EU, in the EU. The report, Falling Through the System, the Role of European Union Captive Tiger Population in the Trade of Tigers, found weak regulations, compliance, checks, and no comprehensive system for monitoring captive tigers across the EU and UK. So inspections of facilities are infrequent, and the procedures to dispose of tigers after they die are weakly legislated without comprehensive government oversight. In many countries, private individuals or its circuses can still keep tigers. Loopholes exist and must be addressed at the national and EU level to ensure tigers and their parts do not enter the illegal wildlife trade. There are at minimum 850 tigers across EU, European Union, and UK, according to the Animal Welfare Organization, 4PAS. However, the US captive tiger population is somewhere around 5,000, a staggering sum that outnumbers tigers in the wild. These US numbers are largely attributed to privately owned facilities like roadside attractions or tigers being kept as pets. Only a small percentage are maintained in zoos accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums or other facilities where welfare and conservation are prioritized. The US, like the EU and UK, currently has a patchwork of laws in place to regulate the ownership and trade of tigers. The US lacks a central accountable agency to identify tigers held by private owners and cannot say where they all are and when they are sold or traded or what happens to their parts when they die. Inconsistent regulation and prevent loopholes plague the handling of tigers in the US and could easily allow them to slip into the illegal global wildlife trade. So with the current regulation of tigers in the US, it is incredibly difficult to track, monitor these animals. In order to rectify the current inadequate legislation, WWF supports Big Cat Public Safety Act and advocated to require federal permits for all tigers in the US. Today, the US has a chance to be a leader in global tiger conservation with the large number of captive tigers in the US. To do so, we must manage these conservation threats in our own backyard if we are to be successful when calling on other governments to follow suit. US leadership demonstrating tight controls on captive tigers can set a strong standard that cracks down on the illegal tiger trade. Otherwise, captive tigers will continue to feed the illegal tiger trade and threaten wildlife tiger conservation. Once, as this act was passed, the BCPSA would help the world take one step closer to securing a future for wildlife tigers. So in 116th Congress, 2019 to 2020, HR 864, Wildlife Conservation Act and Anti-Trafficking Act of 2019 was introduced. It was to support wildlife conservation, improve anti-trafficking enforcement, provide dedicated funding at no expense to taxpayers and for other purposes. And also in 114th Congress, 2015 to 2016, HR 2494, Eliminate, Neutralize and Disrupt Wild Trafficking Act of 2016. This bill was introduced addressing wildlife trafficking, which is poaching or other illegal taking of protected or managed species, and the illegal trade in wildlife and their related parts and products. So as part of this, Section 102, the bill states that it is the policy of United States to take immediate actions to stop the illegal global trade in wildlife and wildlife products and associated transnational organized crime, employ appropriate assets and resources for curtailing, poaching, and disrupting and dismantling illegal wildlife trade networks and financing of those networks in each foreign country that is a major source of major transit point of wildlife trafficking products or the derivatives, or a major consumer of wildlife trafficking products, focusing on country. So provide assistance in helping focus countries in hailing or halting the poaching of imperiled species and ending the illegal trade in wildlife and wildlife products, built upon the National Strategy for Combating Wildlife Trafficking, published on February 11, 2014, or a successor strategy to further combat wildlife trafficking, and recognize the ties of wildlife trafficking to broader forms of transnational organized criminal activities, and wherever applicable to focus on these crimes. So Section 201 deals with says that Department of the State must submit an annual report for the 5 years after the bill enactment, that the list each focus country as determined by the State Department, and identifies each country of concern which is focus country with a government that has actively engaged, knowingly profited from the trafficking of endangered or threatened species. Section 301, the bill establishes the coordination and collaboration requirements for the Presidential Task Force on Wildlife Trafficking. Each year, the task force must submit a strategic assessment of its work and provide a briefing to appropriate congressional committees. The bill terminates the task force 5 years after the enactment of this bill, unless the president terminates it on an earlier date. Section 401 says the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, may provide assistance to focus countries for improving the effectiveness of wildlife enforcement regions, and countries that have demonstration capacity, willingness, and needed for assistance. The bill urges the United States to continue providing defense articles, not including significant military equipment, defense services, and related training to appropriate security forces of African countries for countering wildlife trafficking and poaching. Section 402 says that State Department and USAID may design and implement programs to focus countries for increasing the capacity of wildlife law enforcement and customs and border security officers in the countries or combating the transnational trade in illegal wildlife. Section 403 says each chief of mission of a focus country should begin to implement the recommendations of wildlife trafficking contained in the task force strategic plan within 2 years of this bill enactment. A chief of mission is the principal officers in charge of the US diplomatic mission or a US office abroad which is diplomatic in nature. The chief of the mission is often, but not always, an ambassador. Section 404 says the State Department may also provide support focus countries to carry out the recommendations on wildlife trafficking contained in the task force strategic plan related to the development, scaling, and replication of community wildlife conservancies and community conservation programs in those countries to assist the rural stability and security for the people and wildlife, empower and support communities in managing or benefiting from their wildlife resources in a long-term, biologically viable manner, and reduce the threat of poaching and trafficking. Section 501 says the State Department is included in the certification process under the Pelly Amendment to the Fishermen's Protective Act of 1967. The Petty Amendment authorizes the Pelly Amendment authorizes the President to embargo wildlife products when the Department of Commerce of the Department of the Interior certifies that nationals of a foreign country are engaging in trade or certain actions that diminish the effectiveness of an international agreement for the conservation of endangered or threatened species. Commerce and Interior shall each report each certification to the President within 15 days after it is made. Section 502, finally, the bill applies provisions of the Federal Criminal Code concerning money laundering to wildlife trafficking violations of the Endangered Species Act of 1973, the African Elephants Conservation Act, and the Rhinoceros and Tiger Conservation Act of 1994, if the endangered or threatened species of fish or wildlife products, items, or substances involved in the violation and relevant conduct have a total value of more than $10,000 US. So this is the summary of the Act Eliminate, Neutralize, and Disrupt Trafficking Act of 2016. So to combat this online unsuspecting source, the world's most endangered species are under threat from an unsuspecting source, the internet. Advances in technology and connectivity across the world, combined with the rising buying power and demand for illegal wildlife products, have increased the ease of exchange from poachers to consumer. As a result, an unregulated online market allows criminals to sell illegally obtained wildlife products across the globe. Purchasing elephant ivory, tiger cubs, and pangolin scales is easy as click, pay, and ship. Fortunately, the world's biggest e-commerce, technology, and social media companies have joined forces to shut down online marketplaces for wildlife traffickers. The coalition to end wildlife trafficking online brings together companies from across the world in partnership with wildlife experts at WWF, Traffic, the Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network, and the International Fund for Animal Welfare, in short known as IFAW, for an industry-wide approach to reduce wildlife trafficking online. Let's watch a short video.
Wildlife trafficking is second only to habitat loss as the biggest threat to species. Each year, over 20,000 African elephants lose their lives to the demand for ivory. Every day in South Africa, 3 rhinos perish at the hands of poachers for their horns. And though you might not know what a pangolin is, over 1 million have been traded in the past decade. Now, wildlife traffickers are exploiting the biggest marketplace in the world, your phone. They can reach more people, more anonymously than ever before through websites and apps at your fingertips. Instead of roaming the jungle, tigers are placed in online shopping carts with just a few clicks. But you can help keep tigers, elephants, and other species offline. The Coalition to End Wildlife Trafficking Online unites global tech companies to work together to keep their platforms free of endangered species. Help us by learning what to look for, avoiding illegal wildlife products, and reporting suspicious listings. Is this necklace what it seems? Or does it tell another story? Join us to find out.
Shutting down global online illegal wildlife trade requires an integrated international solution. WWF and partners are collaborating with companies across continents such as eBay, Google, Microsoft, and Tencent to unite the industry and maximize impact for reducing wildlife trafficking online. The coalition is convening dialogues between the partners to share lessons learned and best practices. As wildlife experts, WWF, Traffic, and IFAW also provides companies with updated global and regional trade trend data, training materials, policy guidance, and educational information for users to help spot illegal products. Let's watch one more short video.
was one of the first companies to see the shift of illegal wildlife products, particularly elephant ivory, move online. For that reason, we decided to globally ban the sale of elephant ivory on our platform in 2008.
The work that we do directly impacts wildlife trafficking because we're able to identify and remove problematic listings quickly. In addition, we also educate our community and our sellers as to why these policies and these laws are so important and also so crucial to the survival of certain animal species.
Is not actually being able to verify the origins of the products because we can't inspect the products ourselves as we don't own the stock.
My favorite animal is a cat because, of course, they're adorable and they are wildly unpredictable.
Yes, we're on thin ice. And everything is going up in smoke. Still, some are adding fuel to the fire, while the rest of us see the troubled waters rising. Our planet is under the weather. But when the going gets tough, the tough get, well, you know. Because in the heat of this moment, we're not about to lose our cool. Love it or lose it.
Hi, I'm Noelle Guernsey, Senior Specialist for World Wildlife Fund's Bison and Black-footed Ferret programs, here in Montana in the northern Great Plains. Black-footed ferrets are one of North America's most endangered terrestrial mammals. They are burrow-dwelling, nocturnal animals who live in grassland habitat. They rely on prairie dogs as their main source of food and use prairie dog burrows to shelter and raise their young. Currently, we estimate that there are about 390 black-footed ferrets in the wild, which is far below the 3,000 needed to remove the species from the endangered species list. The main threats to black-footed ferrets are habitat loss and sylvatic plague. Sylvatic plague is a non-native bacterial disease that affects both ferrets and prairie dogs. To help recover the species, World Wildlife Fund works with partners to track, monitor, and vaccinate black-footed ferrets. To do this work, we must go out into the field at night because the animals are nocturnal. We rely on field trucks with mounted spotlights to detect the ferrets' green eye shine and track them to their burrows where we try to capture them. Once we successfully trap them, we bring them back to the hospital trailer where we can provide a life-saving vaccination against sylvatic plague. Typically, the equipment setup is powered by trucks, which have to remain idling in the field so they can be noisy, scare ferrets away, and cause pollution. The hospital trailer also runs on a gas-powered generator. There is a real need for new technology and innovative solutions like portable solar power to help us improve ferret detection and protection. In light of that, World Wildlife Fund sees an opportunity for collaboration with technology companies to help solve these complex conservation problems. So from August to October of this year, World Wildlife Fund will be conducting ferret surveys and vaccinations on the Fort Belknap and Crow Indian reservations in Montana, piloting portable solar-powered technology that will eliminate the need for noisy and polluting gas-powered generators. It is exciting to see these types of innovative technology solutions come to light. This type of technology helps World Wildlife Fund and our collaborators, such as land management agencies, native nations, and landowners, advance recovery of this endangered species in a way that is less harmful and disruptive to the wildlife and the planet.
Feedback form has been raised for the session 1, and we request you to continue. We'll be continuing with the sessions, and we request everyone to fill the feedback form, which has been raised in the form of Zoom polls. So we will now look at how Facebook is alerting, has set up new alert informing users about wildlife trafficking. Since 2016, Facebook and WWF has been working together to address wildlife trafficking by detecting and removing illicit activity that fuels the trade in wildlife and its products on one of the largest social media platforms in the world. As part of this effort, Facebook has launched a new pop-up interstitial alert message that informs users about illegal wildlife trade when the certain wildlife-related search words are entered. For example, if a user were to search for a protected species combined with a commercial activity, such as tiger and buy, an alert would pop up to declare that the animal abuse and the sale of endangered and animals or their parts is not allowed on the Facebook. So this new alert will inform millions of users around the world about how to help prevent unwitting facilitation of illegal trade and how to serve as a deterrent to wildlife traffickers, says Giovanna Grain, Senior Program Officer, Traffic at World WWF US. In addition, these updates complement existing interstitials on Instagram that direct searches for violation hashtags to education on endangered wildlife and blocks users from finding content with those hashtags. The platform also uses to report suspicious content the animal abuse button directly through the platform for review. Facebook banned the trade of all live animals aside from those sold through a verified business in 2019. These policies are designed to keep both animals and people safe. Prior to this, the company worked with WWF to develop detailed training materials for enforcement staff, take action on the prohibited content identified through online monitoring, and educate users about the issue of illegal trade through a different interstitial alert for Instagram in 2017. The trade in endangered species is pervasive on social media platforms where sellers can display live animals and products for sale through pictures and videos. Closed groups process transactions and operate through private messaging, making buyers and sellers difficult to identify and the enforcement of prohibited content a challenge. Wanting to better understand the global landscape of wildlife trafficking and the role that social media plays inadvertently play in facilitation, Facebook and Instagram joined as members of coalition to end wildlife trafficking online in 2008. Through the coalition to end wildlife trafficking online, 37 global online companies have removed or blocked over 3.3 million prohibited wildlife listings on their respective platforms. This effort has unified the tech sector and enabled immense learning and sharing of best practices for cracking down on illegal wildlife trade online. While the number is impressive, it only scratches the surface of the progress needed to keep wildlife offline and in the wild. Every day, the choices we make can have a profound impact on nature. And this time of the year is a perfect time to reflect on how our actions and particularly our purchases affect our planet. Be informed and help save nature by avoiding choices that harm wild animals and animals. Instead of opting for a live animal or a wildlife product that could threaten a species in the wild, why not choose a sustainable wildlife plush toy or art depicting wildlife that can take home knowing it helps to protect wildlife and environment? The internet in particular, social media platforms will never be completely free of illegal wildlife products for sale given their fluidity and anonymous nature. However, by working closely with online companies like Facebook on such efforts, WWF and partners are helping to embed long-term solutions into process and protocol across the tech industry that protect wildlife. Now, people on Facebook have the chance to play a role in reporting suspicious posts and to be a voice in the fight for wildlife conservation. Let's look at one more case study from Google employees search for prohibited wildlife products online while remote. As the world closed its doors and hunkered down to stop the spread of COVID-19, Google employees used the extra time at home to help WWF search for prohibited wildlife products being sold online. The recent COVID-19 outbreak has spotlighted the devastating effects of wildlife trade and its lasting implications on global public health and economic stability. While the link between wildlife and human well-being is new to some, the technology sector, including companies like Google, have invested significant resources into collaboration with conservation organizations such as World Wildlife Fund to address wildlife trafficking online, helping to stop illicit activity and prevent future global pandemics such as COVID-19. The Coalition to End Wildlife Trafficking Online, launched in 2018 with WWF, Traffic, and IFAW, with Google as a key convener, and now comprises of 36 tech company members, including Facebook, eBay, Microsoft, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. This collaboration aims to unite the tech industry to standardize prohibited wildlife policies, train staff to better detect illicit and wildlife products such as elephant ivory and pangolin scales, enhance automated detection, filters, and educate and empower users to report suspicious listings. At the core of this effort is sharing learning and best practices across company platforms to avoid duplication and prevent wildlife traffickers from shifting activities from one platform to the next. The Wildlife Cyber Spotter program is the Coalition Citizen Science Initiative that empowers volunteers to detect and report suspected prohibited wildlife listings found online. Volunteers receive training on how to identify products made from elephant, pangolin, sea turtle, big cat, and rhino, as well as live animals like tiger cubs and primates. WWF works directly with coalition companies to remove listings in real time that violate prohibited wildlife policies on the platform. Google, one of company's partners who helped to co-design the Cyber Spotter program, collaborated with WWF to expand the program from volunteers to an employee engagement initiative. In April 2020, 90 Googlers identified 1,245 suspicious elephant, pangolin, and big cat listings over a 3-week period. WWF shared these listings with coalition companies for review and removal and is using data to open up dialogue around anti-wildlife trafficking work and non-coalition companies. Google employees also identified 16 new key search words that will be built into automatic detection systems and are currently advising WWF on applications to enhance the Cyber Spotter program. As part of this, the breakdown of the listings found by species are related to elephant, 59%, and pangolin, 15%, big cat, 12%, and other 14% are the percentage of listings online, which they have found. So expanding the Cyber Spotter program as an employee engagement initiative, offers company staff the opportunity to have a direct and tangible impact on conserving endangered species. While so many across the world were home and unable to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, providing employees with an outlet to create positive change. And further, the company's commitment to protecting wildlife populations was timely. It was inspirational to see the impact we can make by joining forces for good, said Karthik Jayachandran. We mobilized hundreds of employees across 65 offices and 4 continents, people of all backgrounds, ages, and skill sets united by a love for wildlife. Although we had to pause our efforts in APAC and Europe due to COVID-19, we ran an amazing program with Googlers beating the ambitious goals set within 2/3 of the time allotted. Between raising awareness on key issues, encouraging fundraising for the conservation, and making a client in the illegal wildlife trade, we believe this is a template that should be replicated in hundreds of other companies worldwide. Taking lessons learned from this program with Google, WWF will aim to scale the cyber spotter work through employees' engagement across the coalition. With the recent closure of markets for wildlife consumption in China, it is anticipated that the surplus supply of live animals and alleged miracle cures made from endangered species may be marketed and sold online. The expansion of Cyber Spotter program to thousands of employees across 36 coalition company platforms would allow WWF to identify this shift sooner, ensuring a swift response by the tech sector in helping prevent future gold pandemics while ensuring the wildlife became and remain and safe online. So even Instagram has took a lot of efforts as part of coalition. Starting today, when a person searches for a hashtag associated with harmful behavior to animals or the environment, they will see a content advisory screen. Animal abuse and the sale of endangered animals or their parts are not allowed on Instagram. The protection and safety of the natural world are important to us and our global community. We encourage everyone to be thoughtful about interactions with wild animals and the environment to help avoid exploitation. To report any photos and videos you may see that you may violate our community guidelines. As we are committed to fostering a safer, kinder world both on Instagram and beyond the app, if you'd like to learn more about endangered wildlife and exploitation, visit World Wildlife Fund Traffic and World Animal Protection. So to stay up to date on all changes we are making to create a more safe and welcoming community on Instagram, visit about.instagram.com/community. So this is a message that is you can see on Instagram. The Real Responsible Traveler report reviews global leaders in tourism industry on their animal policies and wildlife offers, uncovering the progress the travel industry is making to protect wildlife animals and where the work is still needed. Independent researchers collected information from the public websites of each of these travel companies to determine which were selling tickets for harmful experiences at captive wildlife venues. Let's watch a short video.
Today, there are many options to consider when traveling. Sustainable travel, ecotourism, and responsible travel among them. These offer benefits such as reducing the environmental impact on our planet and ensuring tourism advantages local communities. But often, animal welfare is left out of the picture. Failing to recognise that some tourist experiences involve animal exploitation, and that using wild animals as entertainers is harmful to all involved. That is why real responsible travel means no wild animal entertainment. It's about choosing responsible travel companies. Travel companies are failing to take responsibility for the suffering they cause by profiting from captive wild animal entertainment. A global industry that forces hundreds of thousands of wild animals into cruel captivity for tourists. We can all choose to not support the suffering of captive animals. It's time to call out travel companies failing wildlife. Be a real responsible traveller and tell these companies to stop promoting captive animal entertainment.
In spite of initiatives taken up by social media and coalition companies, there are still a lot of content on social media. Let's look at one such video which exposes the loopholes.
Did you know Instagram is trying to tackle elephant exploitation? Captive animals are abused in order to perform for tourists, and they're kept in unnatural conditions that the public doesn't often see. People can unknowingly endorse this animal cruelty by using animals for props and photo opportunities such as animal selfies. So, what did Instagram do? An alert system was made to warn users about the cruel conditions. If users search for a particular hashtag, a prompt will pop up and encourage them to protect wildlife instead. Just like this. However, this system hasn't been analysed since it was implemented back in 2017. Until now. Although the intention was good, data shows that the alerts were only triggered with certain hashtags, and similar hashtags were missed. And out of these posts with these hashtags, only 2% of them actually triggered the alert, leaving 98% of these harmful posts to perform as normal. What can be done? We recommend Instagram take immediate action to remove posts that show animal cruelty. The alert system also needs to be implemented more widely and consistently to flag inappropriate content. Read our latest report to find out more.
World Animal Protection is calling on countries to publicly recognize that factory farming through extensive deforestation driven by animal feed production is a major contributor to climate change. Additionally, we are asking for regulations to be tightened to prevent deforestation in animal feed production and imported products, including animal feed, meat, and dairy.
World Animal Protection is calling for high per capita meat consumption countries to adopt the goal to halve global animal protein production and consumption by 2040 and support a just protein transition to reverse the destructive impact of land use changes and deforestation caused by global factory farming and feed production.
World Animal Protection is calling for countries to stop further expansion of factory farming by committing to a 10-year moratorium on new factory farms to enable food justice, food security, greenhouse gas reduction, and biodiversity protection.
We have seen how these worldwide wild animals are taken from the wild to bred in captivity to be used for entertainment in the tourism industry, and travel companies are accountable for animal suffering. Captive wildlife tourism often requires the removal of wildlife animals and wild animals from their natural habitats, and this captivity offers no genuine benefit to the conservation of the species. Travel companies need robust animal welfare policies that protect wildlife at tourist attractions to which they sell tickets and promote. Travel companies must educate and empower customers to make animal-friendly travel decisions. This involves choice editing, the process of controlling or limiting the choices available to consumers to reach an end goal. In this case, removing cruel wildlife tourism activities and promoting wildlife-friendly. Responsible tourism is increasingly popular term in the travel industry, as well as being increasingly important to travelers. The term responsible tourism should indicate that all involved companies and travelers are taking responsibility for their travel activity. Transparency between the companies and consumers encourages trust. Taking a strong stance against animal cruelty gives companies a strong market position and build their brand as responsible in travel. The good news is Airbnb, Booking.com, and the Travel Corporation have proactively removed captive wildlife entertainment. TripAdvisor, Viator has removed ticket sales for captive wild animal entertainment, but continues to promote exploitative wildlife tourism through images and reviews on their website. All four of these companies have invited advice for World Animal Protection to improve their commitment to rejecting animal exploitation and wildlife-friendly tourism, and this course as a testament to the steps these companies have already taken to protect animals. The bad news is many of the world's leading travel companies are severely failing wildlife. These companies, who are among the most influential business in the tourism industry, are still selling harmful exploitative wildlife experiences. Travel companies need to take responsibility for fueling demand for cruel captive wildlife entertainment. With your and our help, we can end ticket sales to venues where dolphins, elephants, primates, and big cats, tigers suffer for profit. So let's all be heroes and heroines for the wildlife. To be a hero or heroine, all we ask you to do is select one of the top 5 travel companies who are seriously failing wildlife and call them using a social media post. And collectively, our action can help focus attention to the travel companies and hopefully convince them to change their policies on wildlife being used for the entertainment. These include Traveloka, Get Your Guide, Klook, Trip.com, TUI Museum. So let's take few initiatives. Let's help stop future pandemics. Humanity relationship with nature is broken. There are direct links between what we do to nature and the emergence of infectious diseases. We need to change how we are consuming wild animals and we are producing food and how we are using the land. Let's take pledge to do more. Commit to reducing your carbon footprint by taking a hard look the electricity you use, how you get placed from place to place, and the footprint of your food. We need to implement extended producer responsibility that would remove the burden of recycling from taxpayers and communities and ensure the companies that create waste are responsible for reducing their plastic footprint. Sign on the WWF and pledge to do your part to protect forests and save wildlife by supporting products that have the Forest Stewardship Council ITM-FSC label. Urge the world's leaders to act strongly and decisively in developing the full content of the treaty and end plastic pollution by 2024. No plastic in nature. Our planet is facing major conservation challenges. It needs our help more than ever. Take the pledge to help the WWF solve the world's greatest environmental problems. So after all this advocacy, it is a win for wild tigers. The US Senate passes major legislation against wildlife crime. President Biden signed the Big Cat Public Safety Act into law on December 21st, 2022. In a major win for tigers, the US Senate passed legislation that will help prevent captive tigers from ending up in the illegal trade of their parts and products, a primary threat to the big cats in the wild. The Big Cat Public Safety Act now goes to the President Biden to sign. The bill will also help ensure the welfare of the captive big cats and public safety by requiring facilities to obtain a federal permit for big cat ownership. Through these actions, we will have more information on who owns them, when they are sold or traded, and what happens to their parts when they die. Nearly 690,000 World Wildlife Fund US activists have sent messages to the Congress campaigning tiger regulations and stronger protections for captive tigers. With the passage of the Big Cat Public Safety Act, Congress has sent a global message that the US stands firmly against the wildlife crime on the side of tiger conservation, said Leigh Henry, director of the wildlife policy at WWF. Once signed into a law, this legislation will provide stringent protections and oversight for captive tigers and other big cats, as well as the communities in which they are being held. About 5,000 tigers live in the US with little oversight of them and other big sites. This means they can easily slip off the radar and into black markets. Requiring a federal permit for ownership will give us a better understanding of the state of captive tigers. This helps protect wild tigers too, because it will be likely decrease the demand for wild tiger parts and products. As this year of the tiger comes to a close, there is no better time for the US government to act on this long-standing conservation issue. Henry said, "We hope that other governments, particularly those with tiger farms within their borders, will soon follow the America's lead." So the Global Tiger Forum is an intergovernmental organization committed to protecting the worldwide tiger population. It was established in 1993 and works with the aim of developing conservation strategies to safeguard the survival of the tigers, especially wild tigers. To achieve its aim, it brings together governments, conservation organizations, and other stakeholders. The Global Tiger Forum is an international intergovernmental organization dedicated solely to the protection of tigers in the wild throughout their range of countries. 7 tiger range countries are members of GTF, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Vietnam, as well as the non-tiger range country, the United Kingdom. The Secretariat's headquarters are in New Delhi, India. The purpose of GTF is to highlight the rationale for tiger preservation and to give leadership a common approach around the world in order to ensure the survival of the tiger, its prey, and its habitat. The goal of the GTF is to achieve the goal through a series of objectives. The Global Tiger Initiative was established in 2008. As a global collaboration of governments, international organizations, civil society, conservation and scientific communities, and the commercial sector with the goal of collaborating to conserve wildlife tigers from extinction. Snow leopards were added to the list of protected species in 2013, and the World Bank, the Global Environment Facility, and the Smithsonian Institution, the Save Tiger Fund, and the International Tiger Coalition were among the GTI's earlier partners. The 13 tiger range countries, TRCs, are leading the project. And an international symposium on tiger conservation in New Delhi in 1993 advocated the creation of intergovernmental international body to launch the global campaign for tiger protection. The Global Tiger Forum was founded in 1994 and is headquartered in New Delhi. The GTF General Assembly meets every 3 years. It makes use of collaborative policies, shared approaches, technical skills, scientific modules, and other relevant programs. The Global Tiger Forum was established to highlight the rationale for tiger preservation and to give leadership and a common approach around the world in order to ensure the survival of tiger, its prey, and its habitat. International Tiger Habitat Conservation Program, in short known as ICFHSDTESAEEEHWBSD, was established in 2014. It is a strategic funding mechanism aimed at saving tigers in the wild, their habitats, and human populations in important regions around Asia. It has already aided the implementation of 12 projects in 6 countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Indonesia, Nepal, and Myanmar, to improve the management of tiger conservation landscapes. It contributes to the Global Tiger Recovery Program, in short known as GTRP, a global initiative to quadruple wild tiger populations by 2022. So the Global Tiger Forum is an international intergovernmental body working exclusively for the conservation of tigers in the wild, utilizing cooperative policies, common approaches, technical expertise, scientific modules, and other appropriate programs, and taking up various initiatives like saving tiger habitat, increasing the number of secure habitats for tigers, global campaigns through promoting global campaigns to save tiger and its prey and its habitats, and also promoting legal comprehensive frameworks for tiger conservation, and providing financial aid and infrastructure capabilities for tiger conservation, promoting training and research, eliciting support from governments, intergovernmental organizations, and individuals. There are 41 wild cat species that occur globally, inclusive of big cats, namely tiger, leopard, snow leopard, and small cats, which are marbled cat, clouded leopard, golden cat, fishing cat, and with overlapping habitat. Small cat species are keystone species which underpin the integrity of big cat conservation efforts and help to maintain large natural ecosystems. The varied distribution of the species inside and outside protected areas entails a broader landscape approach for undertaking conservation for such species. In the recent times, increasing threats to small cat species are in the form of habitat degradation and fragmentation, poaching and illicit wildlife trade, and other anthropogenic and stochastic factors. Hence, it's imperative to invest in focused conservation efforts towards the small cats. With this in mind, Global Tiger Forum, in collaboration with the UNDP and WWF, is investing in conservation expertise for small cats through GEF-funded project titled Strengthening Conservation and Resilience of Globally Significant Wildcat Landscapes through a focus on small cat and leopard conservation. With over 1 lakh tigers in the wild 100 years ago, we are left with as few as 3,200 today. The tigers once roamed the earth freely throughout Asia in the 1900s. Of the 9 subspecies of tigers, P.T. tigris, P.T. altacia, P.T. amoensis, P.T. corbeti, P.T. sumentrae, P.T. jacksoni, P.T. sondaica, P.T. virgata, and P.T. balaica are already extinct. The tigers in the wild signifies healthy livelihood, protects the genetic diversity, and is a guardian and an indicator of a healthy forest. The tiger is a top of the food chain. Therefore, the healthy presence of a tiger population indicates healthy forest. The presence of tigers help maintain the population of herbivores like deers, wild buffaloes, antelopes, and omnivores like boars in the jungle. Nature is thus balanced with the right proportion of predators for prey. By taking away one important predator, prey will increase at the cost of habitat, which finally impacts mankind. Tiger is an umbrella species. Its conservation automatically ensures the conservation of a large number of flora and fauna and entire ecosystems. The tiger becomes the symbol for the protection of all species and is therefore called as an apex predator, an indicator of our ecosystem health and also a symbol of our sustainable development. That's why tigers are important and to be conserved. So with this, we shall conclude today's sessions and we'll be focusing tomorrow on various other aspects, and we'll be taking up the presentations tomorrow. So we express our sincere, heartfelt gratitude to everyone, those who have attended today. And we request everyone to attend tomorrow also. You can inform your colleagues and friends to attend. As certificates are given on a daily basis, those who are attending tomorrow, even if they are not attending today, can get certificates for tomorrow. So you can inform your friends and colleagues. So we request everyone to fill up the final feedback, overall feedback form for the day, which is mandatory for the certificates. And you can download certificates from the website after stipulated time. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, kindly fill up the feedback form. It will be open for 5 minutes, which is raised in the form of Zoom polls. There is no link for the feedback form. It is taken in the Zoom platform itself. You can see an option, polls or quizzes. If you have accidentally closed the window, or if you could not see, in some mobiles, if you are attending from mobile, you need to swipe top or bottom or right or left to access. If you are not active in the Zoom meeting screen, then you may accidentally close it or the window may not appear. Or you can just log out or log in. If you still have issues accessing the poll window, it will automatically appear. And if you are logging from a browser, there may be certain plugins or limited functionality that is preventing to access the Zoom polls. You can log in from Zoom app. If still you are unable to access, you may update your Zoom app to the latest version supported by your device and try accessing. So once again, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. We request all the participants to quickly fill up the feedback form in the Zoom platform. And make sure you are attending even tomorrow's, the second day, it is last day of the international conference. And those who are interested to make presentations can send your details after completing the registration.